I'd feel remiss not saying yo Adrian. So yo Adrian, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell people just how you became a White Sox fan? Because I found that story great.
Uh, yeah, so before the show, me and Sean were talking a little bit. So me and my friend in 2019, before COVID had started, I was a sophomore in high school, and we didn't want to root for the Marlins anymore, so we grabbed the 10 middle teams and spun them all on a wheel, or what we consider the middle 10 teams, and landed on the White Sox. So I've been a fan ever since then. And then got an opportunity with Future Sox and stuff last year. Just been rolling with it. I stopped playing baseball in 2022 in high school, so I felt like I kind of had that void of baseball, so I kind of just needed to fill it. Hopefully, it's better than it's been for the last. I feel like it peaked for a little bit right there, and then it plummeted right on down. So I definitely think I offer a unique perspective, if anything. Definitely a little bit different than everybody else, so maybe a little bit more hopeful too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
probably some less scars. Even then, I mean, the Marlins are just okay. At least there's not like much of a regret. It's not like you left being a Dodgers fan for this. So at
Yeah,
least
for
at least
sure.
it's still another team that's along the same lines as the Marlins. All right, let's jump into some spring training storylines that just have been developing. The rotation is obviously one that seems somewhat set, but that last spot, whether it's going to be Sean Burke or Jonathan Cannon, seems up in the air. Jonathan Cannon pitched today, not in a starting role, but later on in the game. 3 innings pitched for Cannon, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 1 strikeout from Cannon. What did you make of Cannon's day today? What have you made of his spring training? And do you think he still has a shot to make the opening day roster in the rotation?
I definitely think he's on the outside looking in if you compare him to the last spot with Sean Burke or whoever you consider him competing with for that last spot. Um, I definitely think he looks better in spurts, kind of like how he was today in the 2, 3 innings kind of thing. I don't really know if there's a role for him like that on the team. So it kind of seems like he'll start out in Charlotte, but he looked pretty well today. I saw you and Dylan were talking about that new sort of pitch with a sweeper slider sort of thing. So definitely interesting because that pitch graded out really well. And I mean, he did really well today. He went 3 innings, got 9 outs, 35 pitches. So I mean, it was overall really solid for him. So if you can keep building on those kind of things, and maybe Sean Burke doesn't have a great spring, but it's definitely interesting to see. But yeah, I definitely think he's on the outside looking in for right now.
Yeah, and the pitch data is weird because they all lump him in his 6 sweepers, all as one pitch. But yeah, it does look like there's 3 truer sweepers that move like close to 20 inches horizontally, and then there's one that moves like, or 3 that move like closer to like 5 to 7 inches. That looks a little bit tighter and faster, as Dylan mentioned. And that's really the thing that I just want Cannon to really do is look different. That first outing, he didn't look different than 2025 Cannon. This one, where you see a little bit more of a mixture of new pitches with that slider, that tighter slider, and then him focusing on the four-seam fastball, like maybe he can find just some different success out there. What did you think of Colson Montgomery's first homer? Because I started getting a little nervous. I can't lie. I started thinking back last year when he played 3 spring training games and then he got shut down with his back. He gets shut down with an illness. They say he's day to day. And I felt a true sigh of relief when that ball was hit out today. I know there was no broadcast, but we got to see it a little bit later. What'd you make of the homer?
Yeah, it was awesome to see. I kind of had the same thought in the back of my mind. I was texting my buddy. I was like, "Oh, geez, I hope this doesn't end up like last year where it compiles on each other." So I'm glad he responded with a home run, which was really nice. And we got the broadcast view of it too, which I don't know why there's a broadcast view if it's not going to be live, but that's a completely different topic if it's on there. But yeah, definitely good to see. I hope that he can lock some of that power. I don't know how many he's going to hit necessarily this year. I think there's going to be some up and downs maybe with some of the swing and miss, but I think with him and Murakami in that lineup, I think they're pretty similar in the kind of the boom and bust of it. So it's going to be pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, and I've just been having this kind of debate with myself on if he does show this massive amount of power at shortstop, it might be tougher than I think people might think to move him off of that shortstop position. Do you think that there's any chance 2027 that he's playing shortstop for the White Sox, or do you think with Chalowski, not likely Bonnemer because he can possibly play third base,
Mm-hmm.
but with Chalowski emerging as the future shortstop for the White Sox, do you think it's inevitable that Colson's going to play third base at some point?
I wouldn't use the word like inevitable, but I would say that it's kind of trending towards that way. I like Rock hasn't been picked, of course, but it's kind of course, trending that way too. Something I found super interesting moving him to third base. He's like a top 3 defensive third baseman. If he were to go there, I forgot his name, but the guy that does the Fangraph projections, he would have him over top three. I remember highlighting that during the offseason. I think that's really interesting. I don't think I know he would want to stay at short, so it's a little difficult to fight with that. But I definitely think if you're thinking of the start of 2027, he'll at least be there because I don't think Rock would start with the team or anything like that. So at least for the first couple of months, I think he would start in 2027. But I definitely think the infield would definitely shift around, whether that means Vargas moves to first and that's Murakami full time DH or however that sorts out for sure.
Yeah, you brought up Vargas. I want to ask you a question about him in a second. Sir, if you want to flash cannon really quick, we can try to show people what we were talking about with the pitch breaks. If you look at that green little like oval in the dead center, you could see that there's 6 dots. The ones that are farther on the left that are more glove side, those are the sweepers that have that seam shifted wake that carry themselves more based on the seams and it flying like an airplane, where the ones on the right are more tighter bullet sliders at like 87. And that's why you see that sweeper averaging miles per hour like 84.8 because there were some all the way up to 87. There were some down at 82. So it was a wide variance there from Cannon, likely now, displaying 3 variations of that cutter, one that's a true cut fastball, one that's a slider, and then one that's a sweeper. So interesting from Cannon, but again, still putting it all together. All right. Yesterday on the program, I talked about trading Lenyn Sosa, and then I put out a poll just to gauge White Sox fans. Who would you rather have on your baseball team this year, Miguel Vargas or Lenyn Sosa? I'll have you answer this question just because, OPS plus wise and weighted runs created plus wise, they are similar. I think Vargas has the lead by 1 point in weighted runs created plus. Sosa has the lead by 1 point on OPS plus. So do you think that these players are drastically different at all? Do you think that they're, I know people don't want me to say this word. Do you think they're of the same ilk? What do you make between those 2 players?
I definitely see the comparison just with positionally. Vargas can't play second, of course, but I definitely think that they're similar, not in the sort of hitter, but just where they fall in the entire roster. I definitely think Vargas has a higher upside at this point than Lenyn Sosa does, um, especially with just the positions in general. Because you can move him over to first base. I don't really feel comfortable with Lenyn Sosa at first base or with any position at that point. I think that if teams, I was listening to your podcast yesterday. I think if teams were looking to trade for him, they would have done so by now, or would have been done already. I think he's going to end up on this roster just because I don't see him going through wave or putting him through waivers. You're going to lose him, and then 2, like he hit 22 home runs last year, so and he's also shown that he can also with consistent playing time do that. So I don't know if that negates him hitting like he did last year with all that. I know that's a lot of different points all at once. But yeah, I definitely would lean Vargas in the situation for sure.
Looking at spring training performances so far, it's only been, I think, 6 games now. What have you or who has stuck out the most to you, whether it be pitcher, hitter, who has made the largest impression on you so far?
Sam Antonacci for sure has definitely made the biggest impression. I think from a future Sox perspective, like been waiting to see that sort of thing. I don't think he'll break with the club, but I'm definitely interested to see like how he plays in the World Baseball Classic and how much time he gets like other positions. I know there's been some talk of him possibly going in the left field, and so I mean we'll see how that ends up going with Andrew Benintendi and how they want to consider the outfield play. But I definitely could see an outfield at the end of the year being like Sandwich, Nachi in left, Braden and right, and then I guess Acuna in center if that's what they want to do. Like it seems like that's what they want to do. So yeah, I could definitely see like those 3 for sure. He's definitely excited me.
Yeah, and your pal Dylan over at Future Sox putting out the exit velocities for Sam Antonacci today. 103.2, 104, 109.5, 100. There's some 90s in there, 95.3, 93.2, 94.6, and then some lower ones at 76.3, but 80.1. Not all of them elevated. The 109.5 was the homer that he had, but still being able to crush the ball, that has been fairly surprising. I thought he would be more of a Mydroth player with his pop, and while Chase had a pretty good year last year, we didn't see a ton of pop from him. It does seem like Antonacci might be able to pull into or tap into some of that pull side power. What is the other storyline that maybe you don't think is getting talked about enough? I mean, you brought up Acuna. We talked last week on the show about the future of center field for this White Sox team. I don't think there's a real clear future center fielder. Maybe it's a problem for a different day. But what do you think is maybe one of the lesser talked about storylines so far through spring?
The left-handed bullpen for sure, or just I guess lefties in general, how they're going to sort that out. I guess to start the year and throughout the year, because you have Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith in the back of your farm system waiting to come up, and then you also have Anthony Kay, who will likely be in your rotation as he was promised that. And then it kind of seemed like I like Chris Murphy in the bullpen, but he started that one game, so it kind of seems like he's a candidate to maybe start in Charlotte if he's not in the bullpen. But I also put out a tweet. I don't know if you saw it about Ryan Baruchi versus Brandon Eisert. They throw from the same arm angle. So I was more seeing it like, oh, maybe it's against Tyler Gilbert. But Tyler Gilbert looked really good today again, too. I feel like Tyler Gilbert, as you've seen him more in spring, has um, increasing likelihood of him making the club just because they liked him as the opener. They liked him in like that kind of role, and he's been solid so far. So I really think that last lefty spot is going to be down to Baruchi and Gilbert. I mean, not Baruchi and Gilbert, Baruchi and Isert, and then Newcomb will most likely go to bullpen with him not making the rotation. So I definitely think that's interesting for sure. Just looking at their data side by side.
Yeah, what do you make of the two Rule 5 guys? Because we haven't seen Paez pitch at all, and then Alberto has been seen twice. Yeah, I thought he's been a little bit iffy. What do you make of those two Rule 5 guys, and if either of those will even make it on the opening day roster?
I would love Alberto if he was like in our high, if he was like pitching for Winston-Salem. I just don't really know if that fits with what you have going on right now, especially with all the righties in your bullpen. I think that they're going to try to start Paez at least in that fifth role, um, and maybe boot out Sean Burke or Cannon, just because he hasn't pitched yet. And I can definitely see him in like that Cannon role he had today, where it's 3 innings or something like that. And the trade with Boston is definitely interesting too. I know James and Dylan have talked about maybe him being like the player to be named later. I know that's complicated and doesn't really benefit the Red Sox, but it's definitely interesting to see how like they play him throughout the spring and see if he makes the club, especially as maybe in like extended bullpen opener sort of thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems convoluted at this point because you mentioned, I mean, they have some decent major league lefties right now, and if they do want to have the best bullpen possible, I don't think it includes Paez or Alberto. So yeah, no, I mean,
Definitely feels like you're shoving one of those guys in there if you are, for sure.
right. I mean, it definitely feels like a force. I mean, Paez is a top 10 prospect, or at least was a top 10 prospect in Boston's system. So I understand the importance of him, but I mean, both guys didn't pitch above high A, and I know pitching can be a little bit easier to advance, but I mean, even if they have the best control in the world, I mean, I don't know if Paez is just strong enough. He's like only 20 or something or so. So it's just, it seems like a insane needle to try to thread for the White Sox. But yeah, no, I think Gilbert Murphy would make a lot of sense to add on to the lefties in that pen. Adrian, appreciate you joining us. If you do like what Adrian has brought, make sure you follow him at Adrian White Sox on Twitter. He also has some contributions over on the Future Sox YouTube channel. They do a fantastic job. Are you consistently on a show? Where can people find you if they can consistently find you on Future Sox?
Honestly,
or do you
just
fill in
on
for Dylan?
Twitter and
Okay.
Instagram, and I'm writing a bunch. So yeah, I'm trying to get more on the podcasting side and see how that goes. But definitely just trying to write and get on Twitter as much as possible.
Hey, and you've done something I haven't done. You were at the winter meetings, so I mean,
That was awesome.
you're putting in the work.